Good evening. Good evening. How's everyone doing? Hey, Nikki, Celine, Veronica, Dana. How's everyone doing? Just me again. Um, we uh, we were doing an investigation last night. This new location, which I'll talk about that in a minute. Um, Pretty cool building. Again, gorgeous building, and we really. Hey, y'all! What's up, John McGinnis? Um, we only scratched the surface. We're going to go back in 2 weeks. Christopher, how are you? Hey, Laura. So, during the course of the investigation, Chris gets a message. Hey, Deb, from her daughter that her grandson had been in an accident. It was he's got like a little mini dirt bike. The thing's fast. I mean, the way they make them now, they're all fast. And he had a crash, and you know, um, then take him to the hospital. And I mean, he's okay now, but at the time, you know, we saw pictures and stuff, and he he had definitely was involved in a crash. That's for sure. And So here we are, into the investigation, and we're hours into it, and Chris is on and off the phone, and we, she's going back and forth with her daughter, and I'd said to her, are you going to go, because he had to have surgery this morning, and I'm like, are you going to head down there? I would have gone as well, but Walter is going for his chemotherapy assessment tomorrow, which is again like a double whammy type of thing. But anyway, uh, so we finished the investigation. We didn't get home till late. Um, we didn't sleep at all because she had like a 4 o'clock in the morning flight, so we just stayed up for 2 or 3 hours. Dropped her off at the airport at like 3 in the morning, 2:30, and haven't been to sleep since. Hence the glasses and stuff. Because the more tired I get, the more run down I get, the more my vision goes wonky. But he had surgery this morning. Uh, his nose uh, broken. Um, we had a couple of gashes on his face that were pretty deep. So, you know, they had to have a plastic surgeon come in. And I mean, and he looked good. I saw the pictures. I know they just went, they just left the hospital a little while ago. So, I mean, he's okay. He's going to be okay. And, I'm happy that it wasn't worse. And, he's going to take a little time. He's going to heal. They do great work now with any kind of cuts or, deep gashes that you get, much different, than when I was a kid. I mean, back when I was a kid, they were like, they didn't care what your scar looked like. They were just sewing you up. Cosmetically, they didn't give a rat's patootie. I don't even think they had like plastic surgeons working at, when we were kids. I was telling the story last night to Nikki and Danielle. Not a lot of people know this about me. When I was 2.5, we lived with my mom's friend. My father was long gone. And we lived with my mom's friend in a duplex. And she had this German Shepherd who was very, very protective of this woman. And, we lived with her. And that German Shepherd always stayed in her room and was rarely like out and about. And you try to go near that room, woo, you're taking your life in your hands. But he had bit a few people um, up to the point, and I'm like a 2-year old kid. I think I was 18 months old. I'm on the floor crawling, and I made the mistake of going under the table, and the shepherd was there. His bone was there, and I went to grab his bone, and he bit me here. He got me here, like from my under my eye to my chin. And my mom said I almost went blind because if he'd have been like centimeter higher, he would have just blinded me. So I had, as a kid, I mean, if I ever showed you the pictures of me without my glasses and as a kid, without the facial hair and everything, I had big scars underneath my eye, and I still, there's a little one on the tip of my nose here that you could see if I took my glasses off, and I have one here, which is why I grew the beard and the goatee and everything as I got older. But yeah, I am deathly afraid of German Shepherds and big dogs. I would never have a big dog ever. But yeah, but in those days, hey Sally, they really weren't concerned about cosmetically and how those scars looked on a 18-month-old or a 2-year old. They were just like so much, so I again, from my little face, I had scars, and you could see them, and but now, much different now. They take a lot more care when they're, even on adults or children, they take a lot more care when they're, you know that's why they bring the plastic surgeon in. They don't just want someone in there doing the sutures. And so, I mean, I don't think the scars are going to be bad. Like I said, he looked good in the pictures that I saw before they left. So he's going to be okay. Chris is going to be there till Tuesday, which is the day before her birthday. And, that means that tomorrow at Liberty Hall, Chris will not be there. So it'll be me, Danielle, Nicole, Nikki. It'll be me, Danielle, Nikki, and we're going to have 2 other people helping us who have helped us before. So it's going to be fun with John. But we're looking forward to it, and it should be a great event. And, I prefer to have Chris there because, I just like her being there. I have confidence that she's much more organized than I am. And but again, Danielle's really good at that stuff too, so we're gonna be fine. But anyway, so that's what happened like during the course of the night. So while we're investigating, though, this big, beautiful, gorgeous mansion, we started on the second floor, which is where I kind of felt a little something when we walked through the first time. We didn't know that there's a room with a mannequin on a chair that supposedly moves. We didn't know that. We just heard the second floor. Kind of people had heard things and seen things, obviously. But hey, David, we didn't know that there was a mannequin that actually moved until a couple hours into the night, at least. So anyway, um, weird thing was that um, in the first two rooms that we went in, we were basically kind of told like to get out and to leave. And you're trying to make an impression on the people that represent the sites and that are bringing you in. Hey, Loanne, and we tell everyone the same thing during an event. Hey, Kathy, during an event, during a live stream, during an investigation with people in front of us or with each other, whatever. We don't control what comes out of the recorders, spirit boxes, whatever. We have no control. How could you? On any given night, you don't know if curses are going to come flying out or things are going to get said or there's some weird comment made that you're just like, well, what? So we learned early on at the Creeper Gallery when we first started going there. Um, hey, Cheryl. Oh, Cheryl. That's Cheryl. How are you? How's John doing? God, we miss John so much. I'd give anything to have John back. John DeMatico uh, started NJP, was one of the original three of NJP. I love that guy. Brooklyn accent, um, not unlike anything you've ever heard before. But yeah, I miss John. But anyway, so early on at the Creeper Gallery, we would be doing these live stream investigations, and every now and then there was an EVP with some vulgar stuff being said. You never know what an object was going to have attached to it. And um, in the moment, oh my God, look at that. We got to catch up. I got to reach out to John. Tell John I'm going to reach out to him and we got to meet up. I know he's busy and he's always working, but we got to get together. I got to get together with John. I love John. John DeMatico. I had such a great time investigating with John DeMatico in the beginning. And he, like I said, he was one of the original three of New Jersey Paranormal. And if you knew John, John was funny, and he had the Brooklyn accent, so he would be like, "Is anybody here?" There was like a W. Is anybody here with us? Is anybody here? And it was just, and one of my best memories of John DeMatico, and I know I'm going off topic here. In the early days when we first started getting attention from like local papers and online stuff, we were at the Caldwell Parsonage, and they were filming it. It's still online somewhere on YouTube. You can probably find it. And we each had a part. Like there were three of us, so we each had a part where one person, there he is. What's up, John? How's it going? My brother from another mother. John, I miss you, man. We got to get together. So, John, I'm telling the story, which I will never forget. And we had great times together. And we got to get together. And we're each supposed to do a part. It was like scripted almost, where um, I have my little part, John has his little part, and at the time my brother had his part. So we're together, and I get through my part okay, and my brother would get through his part okay, and they would come to John, and John would just kind of like he couldn't remember like his lines or whatever, and they did it like 3 times. John, I remember it was at least 3 times where it was like, here's this part, here's that part, and John was like, and we would just laugh and laugh, and he did it like 3 or 4. He just couldn't get it, and it was just those were the kind of times again we had together, and when John left, that was sort of the beginning of the end for that version of New Jersey Paranormal. But John was again, I had so much fun with John. So John really made me enjoy doing this, and then we brought Tanya on board, and then it, you know, Tanya was her own story. Uh, but anyway, John did freeze up. But that accent, John, you could be on TV in a minute with that accent, John. That Brooklyn accent is like no other. So anyway, um, so we're in this building, and um, the first room, which we call the blue room, and once you see it, if you ever come with us in there, if we're ever able to do a live stream, you'll know why we call it the blue room. It's big, beautiful. You know how like in those old beautiful mansions, like the closets and like the drawers and stuff were built into the wall. Like everything was like such was done with such care and detail, and again meant to last forever because it literally has. So we're in this room, and they painted the one whole side blue, and I like it, of course, because they have all the old dolls in there, and it was definitely a child's room, and I had a vibe about it, and we go in there immediately. Like we get a voice on the recorder. Why are you in here? You know, um, go away. And I'm trying to reason with this person, saying, this is who we are. This is why we're here. There's no reason to be afraid. We were invited in. The people were with us who represented the building, and uh, whoever was in the blue room really didn't want any part of that. So rather than keep putting them through that and trying, we said, okay, we're going to move on to the room right next to it. And we're talking, again, this is a mega mansion that had to have 4 or 5 bedrooms on the one floor and a big office and another side room. And so we go into the next room. Now, here we are again, investigating with the people that represent the building, and you want to make a good impression because, again, we may be doing stuff there in the future and they've had paranormal stuff happen. So we go into the next room, and I turn my spirit box on, and I said, is anybody here? Could you tell me your name? You know, and I said, why won't you talk to us? And clear as day, clear as day, no doubt about it. A woman says, I'm afraid. And I went, oh, not what you want. Because again, you never want to be put in a position where seem like you're kind of trying to force interaction and communication with spirit and in their own home, of all things. So um, while we were in that room, uh, Nikki has this really cool candle. It doesn't speak of the devil. I just conjured her. It doesn't run by EMF like the bell and the other little candles that Ghost Stop makes. This is a motion one and has a motion sensor on it. So we had that in the bathroom that was adjacent to the room we were in, and out of nowhere, boom, that candle comes on and goes off, goes on, and uh, we're like, wow, you were in the bathroom? And then other stuff started happening in that bathroom. So again, purposely, we're taking the candle and we're turning it around so that the sensor is no way picking up outward, just inward. So that was pretty cool. Whoever was in there was kind of letting us know that they were there. So we went to another room that I got a vibe in. This had a mannequin of a child, children's toys. There was some stuff in there that was coming through that was pretty interesting. But again, we weren't like it was one of those things like, at the Creeper Gallery, there are objects that just won't talk to you the first time. Hey, Kathy. And you literally have to give it another go. At least try, because you're a stranger to them. You're doing strange things to them. They may not believe in what you're doing or think it's weird or witchcraft or whatever. And they just, some people don't like strangers. So when you go back around, sometimes you get better reaction. I kept explaining to the people we were with last night, just the longer we're here, the more that who's ever here sees what we're doing, hears how we're talking, sees that we're respectful, the better the chance of us getting somebody to come and interact with us eventually. And, and little by little, the activity started increasing. Like I said, when we got to that one room, we had a lot more activity in there. And they kept mentioning this room with the mannequin sitting in the chair, which I thought nothing of, but Nikki had some equipment in there and the bell was going off. And that was the last room that we were in. And wouldn't you know it, man, we got the most activity in that room, which was the room's not probably a quarter of the size of the bedrooms, maybe. And there's a couch. Across from that, there's two chairs. And then over in the left-hand corner, there's the desk with the mannequin sitting at a desk with old-fashioned typewriter. I mean, a really old-fashioned typewriter. And um, started things started happening by the mannequin. The candle would go on. I mapped something over there, and we started getting stuff off the spirit box. There were names associated with the building and things associated with the room, which was very, very cool, that were intelligently interacting with us. For instance, I have the spirit box on, and we're asking questions, and it said something about look for the plate or something about the plate, like a plate that you eat off of. And all of us are just looking around the room. There's trophies, there's pictures, there's furniture. And we're like, is there a plate? Is there a plate anywhere? And lo and behold, on the left-hand wall is a metal plate with an inscription on it that relates to one of the people that first lived in the building. And we got that name off the spirit box. We got another name off the spirit box of someone who lived there. But one of the coolest things that happened, and this kind of um, freaked out the people that were with us a little bit. Um, the figure who was by the mannequin moved over to the open seat across from me. Now, there was somebody from the site in the other seat, and then there were people sitting on the couch behind me and others on the floor. So this person, spirit, is just sitting there like it was hanging out with us, just sitting in the chair. And every now and then the REM pod would go off, the bell would go off, the cat ball would go off, the tripwires behind would go off. They were there. So we tried to get the person to reach out their hand to see if the figure would try to touch them, and none of that. Then we had the person get out of the one chair, and lo and behold, there was a figure, and then another figure appeared standing next to the person sitting at first. And they looked to be like they were holding hands. I have the video. I sent it to her this morning. She asked for it. They looked to be like somebody was sitting, and the person standing put out their hand and had their hand on the person who was sitting. Really, really cool. And it went from that to the figure that was standing, sitting in the other chair. They're just both sitting there. Really cool. And again, REM pod's going off, and this is going off, and it was at that point we found the room, we found the place where the activity was, and they were starting to interact. But this is again, had already been there for 3 hours maybe, and it started to happen. Hey, Amy, and it was really really cool, really cool. And then it's a weeknight. It got to be too late, so we had to kind of end it there. But we literally scratched the surface of that building. There's a whole nother floor downstairs that's as big as the one that we were in. There's a big basement that I don't know if we're going to be able to get into. And there's a huge attic that people feel uncomfortable going up there as well. Kind of like the other attic that we were in, where they said that they feel like they're getting pushed when they try going up there. So that's 2 weeks from, well, yesterday. We're going to be going back in there and try to cover uh, as much of the other area as we can. But as of right now, I mean, that building definitely, you see it, it's a beautiful old building that's so well kept. And the thing I love about that building is, hey, Marianne, they didn't change a lot on the inside. Sometimes they renovate. We were in a building in Westfield that is one of the oldest buildings in Westfield. And the Historic Society took it over and they gutted it and they renovated it to the point where you would have no idea how old that building was. It was so modern on the inside that it just took away all of the feel of what the outside represents. The inside is just, and again, it's not like people live there. If they live there, I can understand. But, hey, Lorraine, they just, it's a historical building. The Historic Society owns it, and they gutted it and made it modern. And it's just like, ah, whereas this mansion, I mean, these were affluent people. These people had money, beautiful fireplaces, beautiful clocks, beautiful, like I said, the rooms themselves, the way that everything is carved out, um, the closets and everything is just done. You could tell to just last, and it has, and it's in great shape. And that, along with, here's all these pictures on the hallway of generations of the family, which is really cool too. So you've got all those names to pull from, while you're there doing what you're doing. And, one of the things that's strange about, and I'll ask your guys' opinion too. I'll just put it out there to you as well, because there's two mindsets when it comes to this. Okay, hypothetically, you're going to a building. Okay, somebody said to you, um, "We're going to a building. You and a few other people, and you're going to investigate this building." Just putting it out there to everyone. Do you want to know the history of the building and the names of the people who live there, or do you want to go in with a blank slate? So that's the question I'm going to put out there to you guys. Do you want to know, or do you don't want to know? I'm really curious to see which way this goes as far as people and their opinion of, do they want the research? They want to be able to use that as a way of connecting to the people who are there, knowing their names, or do you want to go the other way and not know anything? Blank slate, says Laura. Curious to see what the rest of you guys think. Blank slate, Marianne, blank slate. So I'm really surprised at this. Go any more? I thought a lot more people are going to go the other way. History, but okay, Lorraine, blank slate. Want to go in blind? Want to know? Okay, blank slate, Deb. Now, blank slate. See, I really, for me, I appreciate the blank slate um, part of it. Luann says, I'd rather. I understand the I'd rather know. And I think it helps to have somebody with that knowledge. If there's absolutely nothing going on and you're not connecting to anybody or anything, then it is helpful to have some names just in case. If you're there the whole night and absolutely not connecting with anyone, yeah, it does help at some point to say, hey, Frank, are you here? Is Mary still here? Mary, this was your room. That helps. Others believe, and I know Jason Hawes is a big proponent of this because I was just watching an interview that he did. He was saying as part of the ghost hunters, they didn't want to know. They wanted to investigate and then see if their findings matched up with anything related to the history. I like that part of it, but I could see both sides of that coin. You know what I mean? It helps to have the information because if nothing is happening, then yes, you should use that if you're not connecting with anyone or anything. But going in blind at first just to see what names you get, just by asking general questions, um, is much more satisfying if you could get the information and then match it to things that you didn't know. That's kind of cool to do that. And that's why, like, a lot of times with the creeper gallery, I don't mind when I look at the card on an item and it's basically this item was found in Oshkosh, Maine. Um, People who owned it said they heard voices and felt uneasy. We don't have a whole lot of information on it. I see that and I go, well, now's my chance. You know, I could potentially fill in. Hey, Denise, I can potentially fill in some gaps here. And help with this mystery object and whoever this mystery person might be. On the other side of that coin, it is very frustrating when the Stormy Mine is a very prime example of this. And I have literally got into that office building over the last 7 years, 30 times, 50 times, somewhere in between that. And that person has never really told me his true name ever. Not, and I've asked him every single time, and others have asked him every single time. And it would be a perfect world if he just said, I'm Roy Smith. And then we go back in the archives and we look and we try to find that person, what happened to them, what year did he work there. But sometimes they just don't want to give that information for whatever reason. And it's really, really frustrating, because you're like, yesterday we were lucky in that one room. We got two names that for sure matched the history of that building, for sure. No doubt about it. And they were easy ones because they were on the wall. We literally passed by and we were able to, like, yeah, this guy is one of the people that first lived here, and the other guy came along later on. Easy. And but other times, yeah, I like the idea of not knowing. And I've worked with people who do it both ways. And I don't think there's anything wrong with either way. I think that, like I said, if you're not connecting from knowing nothing and asking just general questions, well, then it makes sense that at least if you had some information and some names, that it's worth trying to say, hey, Mary Smith, I know you did live here. I know this was your room. Would you happen to be here? Are you around? That may be the thing that makes Mary interact with you, because otherwise Mary's looking at you as a stranger. You're walking around talking just, hey, anybody here? Hey, what's your name? Hey, what year did you die? Hey, and some people won't respond to that. We And last night was a little bit of an example of that because we were just like, you know, we didn't write down all the names, but we knew some. And we started general questions in a room. And the very first thing I got, um, and Nikki and Danielle and Chris, if she was here, would kind of attest to this. They heard it. The very first thing I got was to lower your voice, right outside of that room. Before I even went in there, a female said, lower your voice. And I was just like, oh, okay. Sorry about that. I did apologize. And then I treaded really carefully into that room, and they didn't want us in there. It would be nice to not know, but be with someone else. Yeah, and I think the same thing, Deb. It helps to have someone who does. Because if you do run into that void of just nothing and no one responding, then you should turn around and do the other way if you have the ability to do that and see if it makes a difference. Because it may. So that was, like I said, one of the things that was like, oof, what a start. Somebody told me to lower my voice. They kind of told us they didn't want us in there. And then we go into the next room and they say, I'm afraid. And I said, oh boy, what an impression we're making here. You know, here we are just trying to talk to them. And again, we would explain over and over and over again that this is who we are. This is what we do. Not trying to disrespect you or your family, any of your furniture, any of your items, your memory, your home, anything. We just want to try to talk to you and find out about your life and your family. And, you know, we repeated that mantra over and over again. And then finally, we found the room where those two people were just like, hey, come in here, hang out. And away we went. Really strange in a definitely cool and interesting way, you know? Um, but yeah, it is strange to, I'll put this out there to you guys again while we're doing this. Might as well answer this question too. Okay, you're in a building, okay? The only room, the only room in the entire building that you had anything that you could relate to, quote unquote, activity was a room where someone told you to leave or get out, or that they were afraid. You had nothing else, nowhere else. Would you return to that room because you did have activity there, and that's the only place that you had any, quote unquote, proof of a spirit? Or would you leave that room alone and not go back in it? What's your response to that one? Now, you get nothing, big, beautiful old building, nothing anywhere else. Nothing. Yet, you know, in that one room, somebody's there. But they asked you to leave. What do you do? I feel like I should have that, did it, like Jeopardy music? Or was it Jeopardy? Or was it, yeah, Jeopardy. Did it, did it. Okay, back to that room. I'd go back. I'm not surprised in the least. Lisa says she'd go back. Laura, I'd go back in. Just quit me communicate from the hall. That makes sense, Kathy. Not a bad way to go about it. Um, I would go back in. And if I were told the same thing again, I would go back out and probably just kind of leave them alone. Um, I'd be setting up a cot in the room and spending, oh boy. See, Nikki, you're representing the team, man. You can't be talking like that. Out of respect, I would not go back, says Kevin. I understand that. I would leave, but tell them that they could come and talk to me. Worked with me before. Uh, how would you know for sure the message is for you? Maybe you're right about that, Deb, and you'd have to test that. And um, that's another good comment because I always give it another go because again, first time I'm a stranger, the second time I'm still kind of a stranger, but at least, and again, the Creeper Gallery is a good representation of this as well. You'll often hear me say to an object, you've been here a little while, you've seen me talk to the others, you see what I do, because I'm trying to put them at ease, like, hey, I'm I may seem a little wacky in what I'm doing, and maybe people don't do this wherever you're from in your life, but you see me here, you see what I do, and you see how I do it, and that I'm not really here trying to cross anything over, or make something leave, or whatever. Just respect someone. It's the same theory with a building, in that you go to that room one time, and the second time, after hopefully that spirit has maybe followed you or seen what you've done other places, or hopefully seen some other spirits interact with you, hopefully, but you do go back in there and you say, look, I've been here a while. Again, I don't mean you any disrespect whatsoever. I'm not here to scare you or whatever. And I just want to talk to you. Can we try this again? Again, this is who I am. This is what I do. I even make it personal where I tell them about me and my life, that I'm married and I have children, and just to try to, human connection. Just try that. And yes, sometimes it is better just maybe sitting outside the door, like Kathy said, and just putting some stuff inside and seeing if you not being directly in their space makes any bit of a difference. That's another way to go about it. Maybe when I was talking to them, maybe telling them about you. Yeah, that's what I was just saying, Laura. You try to make these are people. You try to make a connection with them on a human level. Now, again, there's others that are just introverts and just people that don't want to be bothered, and they're going to tell you to get out, and they're going to mean it, and they're going to say it over and over. I just finished. I just started working on, and it's such a tedious process that I don't know why I get myself into it. But I just started working on the October library presentation, and it's a lot of watching old video and going through and cutting things up, and I rewatched The Monkey first because it was the most recent one. So I went back and I watched that, and I heard stuff that I didn't hear before. Um, One comment that was made uh, was, and it's in an angry male voice, and I'm asking questions about being threatened or why did you say that? And a man comes through on the spirit box pretty clear, and it was underneath everything. I had to amplify it. And a man says in a really cryptic voice, "We are the slavers." And I was like, gosh dang, man, how many people are connected to this thing? You know, it was a really weird tone of voice and really kind of threatening and imposing, I guess was the word for it. And watching that again, I got a little freaked out. Like, I'm glad that um, that thing isn't there or around anymore. You know? Yeah, it was I was weird watching it again. It put me back in that spot. And um everything that's happened since. I mean, continually. Even what happened with Chris just last night. You'd feed your fears, and you could create your own monster. By believing in that stuff and feeding it, and contributing everything to. You're giving it power. and I don't want to do that. I don't want to give it power. I just want to be done with it and not think of it, you know? So, yeah, but I started with the clips because, it's like trying to edit a TV show. I'm trying to put something together that's going to be an hour and a half library presentation. And it can't all just be one thing. So it needs to be a lot of clips of a lot of different things. And I just started with that because Chris is gone and now I have time on my hands. So I'm just literally throwing my headphones on and start going through. But there's a lot of stuff I want to go back and watch. And you guys know me, I tend to lean towards the dark stuff. So I'm going to look through all of that, first and go through all that stuff again. But again, back to that building. Um, we scratched the surface. That's all we did. We have another 2 floors at least to go through. And when we asked them how many spirits were in the building, somebody replied 10. That's pretty cool when they let you know how many are around. And was that floor? Was that the whole building? Don't know. But we definitely came across some in the one room, the blue room, that wanted nothing to do with us. In another room, a woman said she was afraid, and yet these two other that we ran into in this one room were very welcoming, and boy, did they want to talk. And again, I love that about the paranormal. I really do. It's just so fascinating, the way things happen, and it's about people too, getting involved. And in this particular case, in this particular building, the people that are taking care of it now, that are in charge of it, are new to the building as well. So there's no history like there are with certain other buildings that we work with, where Caldwell Parsonage, we've known those people for 15 years now. It's the same people that have been taking care of that building the whole entire time. Spirits there are very familiar with them. Um, this place, these people were relatively new to the building, so the spirits, I couldn't reference them and say, them, they're here all the time, they've been here for years. No, they've only been there a few months. So they were trying to ask questions about whether it was okay with things that they had planned that were coming up and things that they want to do, which was interesting in itself. um North Jersey, South Jersey, south from us, about an hour ride, hour south from us, but not in the same direction as Smith Cadbury. I don't think. I think it's. I don't think those two are even near each other. But very very cool building. Again, I can't say anything until we complete the second investigation and we start talking about, you know, what happens after that. We did have a discussion because they decorate this building, and I could direct you to pictures of this big, beautiful mansion decked out for Christmas. And I'm hoping to get us in there for, I don't know how, but something before the holiday. Maybe. I don't know. But that brings us back to our original dilemma in that, Chris isn't here. So um, any normal event we can handle with 4 people because that's the way we normally do things. Um, Tanya and Kenny are, you know, taking care of their parents and taking care of personal stuff now. So at this moment, they're not available that much. So it's down to me, Nikki, Danielle, and Chris. So until they're able to come back in, um, it's just the 4 of us. So um, when one of us gets sick or Chris goes away, now it puts us in a position of three of us or whatever. So we have to kind of figure out how to navigate that. And here, of course, this happens on all weekends when John Zaffis is doing an event, and we have a good bunch of people that are going to be with us. So again, we brought in a couple of people that have been in the field for a while, and that you guys may have seen at other events that we've done. And I trust them, and I know they're going to do, they're going to do right by us and with the event. And I'm looking forward to it. John actually reached out to me earlier, and we were talking about how weird it is to do a Friday night event. And, you know, I'm not going to get into too much of this stuff because it's not my story and I have nothing to do with any of it. But I did see some posts from John about the new Conjuring movie. And I know John, and I respect John more than anyone in the field. And I would never speak for him and his feelings about any of it because I honestly, I know a little bit, but I don't know a lot on either side. So I just know that, you know, it must be really, really weird to be part of something as big and iconic as the Warren legacy, and just see, the evolution of everything. You know what I mean? Um, it must be really strange being part of that. You know, I saw the movie, and Chris and I went Tuesday, and I liked The Conjuring 1. I thought The Conjuring 1 was a very good horror movie. Conjuring 2 was okay. Not as good as the first one. I didn't like Conjuring 3 at all. And I didn't really like this one much at all. And, you know, and Hollywood is Hollywood. You know, when something is based on the truth could be something as simple as it took place in Rhode Island. I mean, honestly, that really could be the truth that it's based on. And I'm not saying that's the case at all because, again, I wasn't part of any of that. So, but, you know, I watch a lot of different podcasts and I read a lot of stuff and I have my own opinions on a lot of that stuff. But again, I'm not John and I'm not any part of that world. You know what I mean? So I just wonder, like, again, what would that be like if my aunt and uncle were part of that whole iconic thing and watching all of this play out the way it has? It's got to be really, really weird. As someone who has worked in film, I see so many stories and events. Yeah, I mean, that's Hollywood. I mean, people want a great story. That's what they go to the movies for, you know? And the real life version isn't, as good as what a writer could come up with. So, yeah, but again, um, I try to think in terms of like places that we've been and things that we've done. And if somebody were to make a movie based on, one of the homes that we went in and it really went like out there type of thing, like, or if it was my dad or my uncle or whatever, it's got to be a weird, weird, weird thing. But, you know, I saw it. I didn't really like the movie. But again, people kept saying it's a good horror movie. I love horror movies. I didn't think that this was, you know, I like the whole thing with the creepy nun and stuff. Like she's creepy looking and all the other stuff. But I don't know. I just didn't like it. It was packed though. I'll give it that. The theater was packed. A lot of people there. But then, there's really nothing. You know what was a decent horror movie? You want to see a decent horror movie? That movie Weapons is good all the way up until kind of the end when you find out what's going on. But that was pretty good. But anyway, um, I want to have John on and Cody and Satori. I don't know if I'm going to have them on together or separately. I'm probably going to have John on after we um, do this event to talk about this event. And, but I wouldn't force John into a position to ever talk about stuff that he doesn't talk about on other interviews or himself. But I just wouldn't do that to him. If he wanted to volunteer it, um, then yeah, we would talk about it. But I would never put John in a position where I'm firing questions at him about any of that stuff. I heard one interview where they did ask him about the sale of Ed and Lorraine's home, and he just said no comment. I'm not talking about that. And I'm like, I was wondering how he was going to answer that. But again, when John and I talk, and I'm sure we're going to talk tomorrow, before and after the event, um, I am more interested in John Zaffis's career and his contribution to the paranormal field. That's what interests me. The other stuff, you know, that's again, I don't know much about the other stuff except for what I've read and podcasts that I've seen and people's opinions, and I wasn't there. But like for John, I like talking to John about what John has done because that stands on its own. Uh, Aside from you know the Warren legacy stuff, John has he's done it all, man. He really has been part of a lot and been involved. He's still doing cases to this day. It's not unusual for him to come tomorrow and say, I was working on a case on the way here. Somebody called me and I figured I was in town. He's still doing that now, which is, you know, crazy impressive that he still works on regular cases to try to help people. I think that's awesome. So that's really what I talked to John about. And I again, I'm going to have him on after we do this event. We're going to talk all about Liberty Hall and what his impressions were, um, what experiences that he had, if any, with people that we may have communicated while we're there. Um, and we'll talk about other cases and things that he's done. But yeah, it's you know it must be a really weird place that he comes from. You know what I mean? To be part of such a huge legacy. You know what I mean? I don't know. That'd be weird to be part of all that. But anyway, um, tomorrow night, hopefully, we'll see some of you guys at Liberty Hall in Union. Um, we haven't been there. We are supposed to go in February, but again, John Zaffis brings that great weather with him. As far as I know, it's going to be nice tomorrow, but you never know with John. Um, we haven't been there since last November, almost a year. Wow. Wow. So it'd be cool getting back in there and checking that place out. I've always had a great time in the carriage house. When those spirits want to talk, they talk. Um, and like I said, hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. I know some of you guys got tickets. Um, the other events that we're doing, I keep repeating this over and over. I keep getting emails, and believe me, I am so happy that people are interested in coming to our events and wanting to be part of the fall, New Jersey Paranormal schedule. And I apologize to everyone when they ask for tickets for this one or that one or that one, and we just can't accommodate them. Um, The only event that takes place in September or October that has tickets available is the Adam Berry Sterling Hill Mine event. And that is Adam's event, but we're going to be there doing what we do, supporting him. We'll still be in the buildings doing what we do, but it is Adam's event, but we'll be there supporting Adam. So we'll be there. But ticket sales and all of that stuff goes through Adam. You're going to go through adamberryevents.com to get tickets for that one if you want to come to that one, September 27th. After that, Burlington Prison keeps asking, and I'm going to figure it out. I don't know how. But after that, there'll be a lot of library lectures, and they're all the same. I don't want to confuse anybody to think that if you come to one and you want to go to another, we're doing 5 of them. The other one's going to be the same as the first. And the third one is going to be the same as the first. I don't have a different plan for these lectures. It's the lecture. So if you want to come to any of those, I'm going to post those dates and those locations as well. And then we're back at Liberty Hall on November 15th. So I will have a link for that up. And that'll just be, again, just New Jersey Paranormal without any special guests or anything. It'll just be us. So everything else is sold out. Caldwell, Barron, Inskeep, God, what's the Van Horn, the Barron, the Hoover House stuff, all of that sold out, which is awesome. But yeah, that's the next one that we're going to have available. Will be November 15th. And we are going to be doing a Ghost of Christmas Past with Donna. I just don't know when. If I had to guess and put money on it, I would assume it's December 13th, or whatever that Friday is. But I would assume that's going to be the date at Donna's place in the gallery that you guys have never been in. I would assume, but I need to talk to Donna and confirm that. In the meantime, the expo is less than 2 months away, guys. And if you're going to support anything we do, hopefully you guys come out for that and meet all of those special guests that we have. Check out all the exhibit rooms and the lectures. It's just one day this year. Come to the parties if you can, because it's such an awesome time at the parties to just hang out and enjoy it. And you never know. Again, every expo could be the last expo. It's all up to the township and how they feel. And we all know times are changing. Politics are changing. Funding may or may not be there every year for different things. So we try to enjoy every one that we do like it's the last one. So hopefully you guys come out November 8th or come to a party on November 7th. Costume party. Chris is working like crazy on that too. Other than that, I'll schedule some more interviews. I like doing interviews in October. So I'll set up Cody Satori and John and hopefully bring on a surprise guest or two and do some demonstrations. And we'll do that in October. Other than that, Creeper Gallery will probably, believe it or not, because I am a crazy person, I probably will be at the Creeper Gallery Saturday night by myself because Chris won't be here. I'll probably be back to the Creeper Gallery Saturday night in New Hope, which will probably be crazy, I'm sure. But that's the next time I'll be live, Saturday night at the Creeper Gallery, 7:30 by myself. All right, guys. See some of you tomorrow. The rest, I'll see you Saturday night from the Creeper Gallery. Have a good night, everyone. Talk to you soon. Take care.